Good evening, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to the Pod Ones podcast. We're going to be talking about a brand new show tonight that aired on Tuesday this week on Disney Plus. That show, you might have heard of it, is going to be called The Acolyte. Now, Luke, first off, how did you feel in less than 10 words about The Acolyte?
Pretty freaking good.
Pretty freaking good. So you do have 7 words to spare, but you don't have to use them all. Harith, how did you feel about The Acolyte?
Peak television.
Peak television. Better than Ren and Stimpy. Are you willing to go on record for saying that The Acolyte is better than Ren and Stimpy?
I haven't seen it, so I can't really give an opinion.
Ugh, missing out. But you know, Harith, last night, speaking of Acolyte, which does take place way before the movies, you were playing another game that also takes before the movies.
Yes, I was.
What game were you playing last night?
I was playing some good old Knights of the Old Republic for the first
Knights
time.
of the Old Republic. We're probably going to continue that series. I don't know if we have a set calendar date on that, but please tune in to watch Harith play the original KOTOR and experience not just the twist, but all the great stories that come along with KOTOR. But I think we should get into it. I believe we have a guest tonight coming straight out of Philadelphia. We saw him last in Anaheim, California for the infamous DiadCon. We have Mr. Connor, actually Jedi Connor.
Woo!
Thank
you so much.
Representing the Philadelphia sports teams. We're all wearing hats today. I was not informed about this.
Can I tell the story?
Today. Tell me the story of why.
So me and Harith are hanging out in here. All of a sudden, I hear pop, and I was like doing something in Discord, so I didn't have the stream popped up. Literally, he gets into stream. I pull it up, and I go, "Wow, it's like me and Connor. Like we planned this out." And then Harith's like,
person.
Yeah, we are. We finish each other's
sandwiches.
That's what I was going to say.
You know, I've got to bring this up, you know, because not only are you matching, but Connor and Luke, you're both wearing white T-shirts with woke messaging on.
I knew
we got the Flyers Pride, and we got the Acolyte
Pride.
The Wokalite. I'm sorry, the Wokalite.
Hey, I'm also wearing some Pride colors too.
Yeah. This is hilarious. Okay, since Chase opened up the floor, when are we going to literally not give a single fuck about? Excuse me, good lord. When are we going to stop giving a fuck about review bombing? Like, when are we ever going to say, you know what? People are going to do it. That shouldn't matter. Let what you like enjoy what you want to enjoy. I understand why people are like, they're like people coming after each other. I get it. But like it all,
Luke, before you go on, what's with the hiccups?
Please do tell.
We went to Chinese all-you-can-eat buffet. So
okay.
I'm still trying to recuperate from that. But it wasn't as good as the orange chicken that you got me in New York City. I still have dreams about that.
Get this man a paper towel with some water.
Chinese. Yummy Chinese is goated, man. Shout outs. We don't got no Yummy Chinese in Seattle. I'm a little salty on that. But no, Luke, to answer your question, I mean, I think that as the platforms evolve, IMDb, Rotten Tomatoes, all that stuff, I think I would be very surprised if IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes weren't working on more.
I would.
Hell yeah. The party wands, baby.
Oh, wow. Just the hiccups are so bad right now. Let me go get a glass of water. Keep.
But yeah, I do think that these Metacritic, Rotten Tomatoes, IMDb, like they have to take it somewhat seriously. But I also believe that genuine reviews tend to balance out the review bombing, usually over time. Keep in mind, we are less than a week out from the premiere of The Acolyte. So yeah, people are going to review bomb. People review bomb for various reasons. It's not always, oh, I thought it was woke or something like that. It's tons of reasons things get review bombed. And I think it happens, in the world of video games with Steam, where things get review bombed there. But again, that stuff always irons itself out. So,
agreed.
I think that there's things that these review outlets or review congregation sites, I guess, could do better to prevent that. But I think also a little bit of common sense comes into play here. Like if the critic score on The Acolyte, I think is sitting at like 92,
93,
93, yeah. And the audience score, I believe right now is sitting at like 25, 26. It's like, I think most people with some common sense will be like, something's weird.
Those numbers are, those numbers are so off.
Yeah. I feel like most people are going to see what they want to see. They're going to look for what they are, have their preconceived notions and where their mind is set. And then they're going to look, say, oh, because it's rated, 26%, like the show is trash. Whereas if someone is, like you said, has some common sense, it's
not only common sense, actually knows what the fuck they're talking about. Like, they're called critics for a reason.
Most of them are journalists.
Most of them are journalists. They've been in the industry for years. Are we going to take their opinion as real concrete evidence, or are we going to take review bombers that don't like the LGBTQ community, don't like Black people, and are just horrible human beings? I'm going to choose the people. I'm going to choose the critics that actually understand what the story is telling you, and not everything is such an agenda, right? So last night we were talking we talked a little about this on Duel of the Ranks last night. A comment got brought up, and I'm so tired of it. Just, you don't have to comment, you don't have to watch. The only reason why you do is so that you can hate and you can make yourself more money and more revenue and be that trailblazer when it's really not that trailblazing to talk shit on Disney. Literally,
you all say the same shit. You copy each other.
It's same shit, different day.
I think for a lot of these people that are doing that, I think they're genuine in their opinions. Like they don't like the woke Disney. They don't like these things. They've kind of been brainwashed by this like alt-right YouTube pipeline. And like, look, that's a whole other podcast episode, right? But what I think this really does come down to is, with the advent of streaming combined with social media, is, you can kind of watch these shows at your leisure. You can watch it whenever you want. You're not having to wait until like 8 p.m. on a Tuesday to sit and watch The Acolyte with your family and your friends and all that. Yeah. So it's no longer hey, I'm really excited to get together with people to watch this. Like we do that, but we do it online in a different capacity. But I think what a lot of people are missing out from that kind of communal aspect, if we all watch it at the same time, is it has become so much more fun for certain people, not for everyone, but certain people, for them to just talk about the media online versus enjoying the media. And a lot of the time that shows up as it's trash, it's woke, it's garbage, bad writing. Like, tell me what's bad about the writing. I'm willing to hear it, but no one will tell you what's bad about the writing. Yeah. It's just an excuse to rile people up. And I think the entertainment factor for a lot of people does now come from going on TikTok and YouTube and Twitter and all the social media to talk shit. Yeah, like that for a lot of people. Yeah, it's more fun than watching the actual show. I don't think that I'm not going to try and say, talk for people, whether I disagree with them or not. But I think for a lot of these people, it's like, do they actually care that they don't like the Acolyte? I don't think so. I think they're totally fine, but they enjoy the aspect of like, I'm going to go online. I'm going to go on someone who's talking about the Acolyte on their TikTok or whatever. I'm going to talk shit and the comment section will explode. And I'm going to just like sit back and I think that's really what's going on for a good chunk of these people.
Yeah. It's the attention. And if I'm being honest, I give those people attention trying to defend. I think we're all guilty of feeding into the frenzy that is comment sections and rhetoric over that show.
But like, here's the thing. Sometimes you can, I sometimes I get it. Like, don't feed the beast. But like, when is enough? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not out here saying with my full chest that we need to go after every single comment and after every single thing. You know what I mean? But like, when is enough? That's my only gripe with this whole woke thing. It's like, is it really woke, or are you just mad that a queer director and her partner are doing this together? Really, we're gonna get upset about that?
I think if you look at platforms,
no, go ahead, Chase. Go ahead.
I'll say I think if you look at platforms like Facebook, where that mentality is so ingrained in the user base on Facebook, that I think they are that upset that, you know, look, no one's skin color or background has been brought up in the Acolyte. Like they are just there on screen doing the direction and saying their lines. We haven't gotten a relationship on screen yet. Based on what the people involved with the production of the show have said, that seems like it will be coming at some point. And there is nothing in the Acolyte that actually screams to me as like, that's woke, right? Like, Modern Family falls more into the description of woke media than the Acolyte does at this point. Like Modern Family, which is a fun show, it is very much about gay couples, interracial couples, like mixed families and stuff like that. It's still a good show on its own, but yes, it does have a message it wants to send that is that progressive message. The Acolyte is not that. It just has people that look a little bit different than what I think certain members of the audience look like. And I think to answer your question, when is it going to be enough? When the conversation on YouTube no longer gains traction. When saying that, when saying, let's just pretend that we're at the finale of the Acolyte and no relationships happened. Like, no one was gay, no one was straight. You know, you don't have any gender discussions within Star Wars or anything like that. No one's skin color is brought up. And it's just a totally normal show with nothing like that in there. And it's just got a diverse cast. You run out of reasons to complain about it. And I think what we're starting to see, and we're in the very beginning stages of it. And I think it's nice because I think Bricks and Screws were like the kickoff to this of like, you're reaching. And I think, you know, based on my comment section, reading Connor's comment section, all of our comment sections, we are definitely getting more people that are like, I used to watch Mike Zero. I used to watch Geeks and Gamers. I used to watch Star Wars Theory. And like, I just got tired of it. And like, there was one commenter, it was like, I got so depressed that I watched everything that came out expecting to hate it. And he's like, I got tired of it. And I just sat back one day, put on, I forget what they were talking about. Like, I put on a show and I enjoyed it. And I just enjoyed it for what it was. And it was the best thing. And I was like, I never looked back. And I think we're getting more of those people.
And
like,
I'll speak to myself. Yeah, like I was one of those people as a teenager. Like I would watch those channels as like a 16 to 18-year-old. And then after, like when I turned 18, same boat. It's like I said, I was like, I just like literally Harris. And then I literally went back and went like, I was like, why am I doing this to myself? Like,
Harris, where were you January 6th?
Yes, says the guy with the trucker hat.
You can't conflate blue collar workers with like insurrectionists. That's fucked up.
Settle.
Brooke in
No,
the
I.
chat,
Sorry.
does say we need to ignore these people online, and I mostly agree with this. There's a point
hard.
where I'm just like,
it's hard. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. It's there's
like,
the opportunity. There's the
It's not
opportunity
wrong.
to dunk on so many people, and we all love a good slam dunk.
I dunked on the guy that made the tweet about the fucking opened fire in space. I was like, really? This is what we're hanging our hat on? This criticism? This is stupid.
That criticism. Okay, keep that same energy for the original trilogy then, or everything in Star Wars that in that matter.
You know what's kind of crazy is Haley and I were watching The Acolyte, and that scene came on, and I'm just like, people are going to complain about this.
That's exactly
I
what
knew
I thought.
people were going to complain about this, and I'm like, I know. Look, I've seen it all. Like the spaceship aspect of Star Wars has always been my favorite. Like we're all aware of that.
Mm-hmm.
That shit catches on fire all the fucking time in space. Like every single movie, there's fire in space. Every show we get basically has fire in space, and I'm like kind of upset at this point where I'm like, I see something that I know is not wrong. I'm like, people are going to complain about that.
Yep.
People are going to be upset about that, and it's like, it's so stupid.
Yeah, I'll speak to my experience. So I watched it with my two roommates, my roommate Pat and his fiance. And they have not seen Star Wars in any like depth. Maybe they've seen it on TV a couple times, and they sat down and watched the first two episodes with me, and it was nothing but like, this is really cool.
Shit.
Like I'm excited to see where it goes. And they're looking at my comment sections and people online, and they're just like, what is going on? Like it doesn't make any sense. But so from an outsider's perspective, like it's a pretty good show so far.
Yeah,
and
sure.
Here's the thing. That's the whole point, Connor. They're trying to get people that are like, this is a perfect starting point for a new fan. This is the new sequel trilogy. If you think about it, Oh, look, a little bit of love in the chat.
There's Pat. That's my roommate.
What's up, Pat? We got
Thanks
Pat. We got Saint Pat. Love it.
This is getting out of hand. Now there are two of them.
No. Okay. All right. So let's actually get into the first episode. I think we've touched on the elephant in the room, and I also kind of agree. I agree with what Brooke's saying. There are there's, but it's like she's right. Like we do have a pretty positive spot, and some people like to do more of that than most. So it's
definitely out there. There are crybabies out there that are complaining about the show for what seems to be like no good reason. Like I always want to give people benefit of the doubt of like, why don't you like the show? Tell me why you don't like the show. Oh, you don't like the show because of bullshit. Okay, great.
Yeah, like I've seen that in comment sections. Like I've seen people like be like get in people's comment sections like you said, just to be a troll and be like, oh, I like the show, and people be like, why? And they're like, it's garbage, and people be like, why? And they just never give an explanation.
Yeah, it is what it is. It is what it is.
Yeah.
But I will say the first episode, man, did that start off strong. It started off strong. Really, really strong. What were your guys' thoughts?
I really love the Disney Plus Star Wars show twists that we've been getting. Like that first episode twist of like all the promotional material. I'm blanking on the actor's name, Rue from Hunger Games, Indira.
Yep.
It's like, she's
no.
May.
Amanda
Sandberg.
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry, I thought you were going with the whole Indira like
no.
Matrix.
Oh no, I'm hoping we get flashbacks of her. I want that more.
We will.
But that show is very much promoted as Amanda was going to be the villain. Not the protagonist. So it's just like kind of like, Obi-Wan had the Kenobi, or Obi-Wan had the Leia stuff, that was like not promoted, but was the huge crux of the show. which makes me more excited that they love pulling this little stunt that you'll never guess what we're gonna do with the show. So like stuff like the skeleton crew becomes way more exciting because of this.
Yes.
But that first episode of like her killing Indira. All of you have spoilers for the Acolyte, obviously.
Yeah, spoilers for the Acolyte.
Spoilers,
like if you like if you just decided to come in here and be like, oh, I didn't mean to do that. Sorry, guys. Like you just decided to come in here and be like, oh, they're talking about the Acolyte. I haven't seen you in the episode. Why are you here?
Yeah,
there's
love
an entire
love the support, but
you could spend your time better watching the show.
There's another stream that was last week where before the show even came out and we just predict about stuff. Go watch that stream.
Yeah, go watch that stream. Go watch the show and then come back here and hang out with us because I'm sure we will be still talking about it.
Yeah.
We might have new characters. Space Trinity. Yeah, that's sad.
Yeah. I had the feeling after watching that little teaser, I'm like, is she gonna die in the first episode?
Yeah.
And then she does. She dies in the first scene.
Yeah. That's wild.
That scene was so good. And the way that she goes out was really, really good.
Yep.
I think the way they set everything up, like this big murder mystery, that like kind of solves itself within the first 2 episodes, and then we're just gonna have a different direction. Like seeing Osha on the that ship that she's working on, and like the Rekneks, and maybe my Star Wars knowledge is just not good. Like that concept is super cool to me. Like like, we don't want to use droids. Like droids are expensive. I don't like droids, blah, blah, blah. That is super cool. Like the idea of a Reknek, I really love that. And her working on the ship, the fire on the ship and her putting it out, and you kind of get that, like, she does not like fire, and we're kind of learning more.
And you get the first show foreshadow that it's not OSHA, that it's May, because before the
when I saw her in the like the mechanic garb, and I'm like, these are 2 different people.
Yeah, that's not the same person.
These are 2 different people.
Yeah, but I also like how they played that for a little bit. Like the first cup, like obviously we probably figured it out right away, but like people just being like, whoa, like I didn't see that coming, because the way it's supposed to make you feel, like May goes off screen, and then OSHA, and then you get to OSHA waking up. Like that, the way that was cut was perfectly done.
Yeah.
I want to talk about that first fight a little bit more, like the opening scene.
Yes.
So we saw that fight early. Like it was released. I think that I want to say it was, I don't know if it was the theater release or if it was, they literally just released the beginning of that fight.
It was in Phantom Menace, but I also saw most of the fight in the Celebration trailers. They showed
and it was also released online as well, like a day or 2 after the Phantom Menace release.
Yeah, and one of the things that, I mean, me personally, I thought that May was just getting pieced by Indara. Like it looks, I mean, she is like, she is no match for Indara with or without a lightsaber. And the fact that she kills her the way that she does with, using an innocent person against a Jedi. It was shocking to me, to be honest. Like I was not expecting that to happen.
One of the best things I saw was from Tate, was him doing an edit from the Grand Inquisitor line in Kenobi, but with that scene playing in front of it. That was really well done.
Yeah, I will say this has been, and I said this I said this last night on Duel of the Ranks, and this was my hot take, and you can either live with it or not live with it, but I think this show is going to have the best choreography in all of Star Wars, and that's including lightsaber battles, and that's including the prequel trilogy. The way these fights are choreographed, it's like a dance. It has the blaze of the prequels, but it's not as choppy and swingy. It's more like gliding it's more executed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's like classic samurais and also mixed with kung fu fighting a little bit as well.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I do think the combat, we really haven't seen a lightsaber battle fight or lightsaber fight yet.
Mhm.
I'm very excited to see what they do with that, because I think what we could get is kind of like what you said, is like this super flashy, super spectacular thing, but almost not as dancey as it was in the prequels, if that makes sense. Because like there are tons of unnecessary twirls in the prequels, and that's what makes them so flashy, is those unnecessary twirls. Swords going behind backs and all that stuff. I think that's very possible to see. But like I think they can take the best of all three trilogies, like the emotional weight of the originals, the flair of the prequels, and then like the brutishness of the sequels. I think we have that potential, and I think we're also in an era of Star Wars right now that like Disney's learning. Like they're like, hey, like I don't think they're listening to, like we were talking about the online trolls earlier. I don't think they're listening to that, but there is like a dialogue going on of like what people like, what people don't like, what works, what doesn't work. I mean, you were talking about your roommates. Like, I guarantee you, like the people that I work with, like they're gonna love this show. Like they are like, this is what I think a lot of people have been wanting out of Star Wars for years now. And I think people who maybe were fans of the original trilogy, and the prequels are okay, the sequels are fine, but they're big OT fans. I think that the Acolyte really does set up this like, hey guys, it's like the prequels but less silly.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to work for a lot of people. And it is like, look, it's
Absolutely.
Jedi versus Sith. That's what people want. We can talk all day about, I like the Rebels and I like the Starfighters and I like the Force Lord. People like the
this
Jedi
is why we're
versus
here.
the Sith. Like we all have favorite parts about Star Wars, but let's be real. Everyone in their life that has been the remotest Star Wars fan has gone at some point in their life. You're right, Connor. That's why we're fucking here.
Damn right. And I think it's the setting, like the time period that they're releasing this show in, end of the High Republic era, not too distant from what people know, but still different and distinct, is such an advantage to this show. And it gives everybody a reset where we don't really know what's going to happen to all of these characters. We may get a Yoda reference or, a little nod to something that we do know, but none of these characters, except for Vernestra, were even characters before the show.
Yeah. And the one Jedi that I will say this about when I first watched it, I didn't understand the Yord Horde. Like I found him.
Yord Horde.
No, I get it.
Yord Horde, where you at?
No, I get it. But like,
do you not
when
like
I first
Yord
watched
because
it,
he's woke?
No. It was that he would do, and this is the point. This is the point. This is why it's not really a gripe. I've come to understand it after watching it the second time through, because I had seen it. I had seen it on I had seen it in at a fan screening with Tommy Sella. And we, like, I was watching it and like Yord was so like, I'm just like, dude, you're like 100 years too early.
Well, that's
like, and that's the point. And that's the point.
Yeah. Because it goes back to what Brooke is saying. Like, so I love how the Jedi Masters in the show are like peak High Republic Jedi. They don't pull out their lightsabers till the very last second, but like Yord and Jackie and like and Osha are more like the prequel era Jedi, where their first instinct is to pull out that saber and then slash first and ask questions second.
I wouldn't say that about Jackie. No, Jackie's not like that.
I want to say that the big thing is Yord is just he's just like coming from a place of fear. So he's scared of, first off, he's scared of like making mistakes. He wants to be perfect. He's scared of, I mean, you see in that first scene when we're introduced to him, in his head, Osha is a Jedi killer, and the first thing he does is she goes down, put down her pip droid, and grabs his lightsaber. Like he's working from a place of fear that he has to work through, and I'm sure we will see him work through that.
I think Yord. Go ahead, Harry.
Yeah, no, but I also think it's like because Leslie Henley, because obviously we're building to how the Jedi get from the High Republic to how we get a Sith Lord, and I think it's like the subtle way of foreshadowing it without saying a word. I think it's just this: you're seeing that transition starting to happen in the newer generation of the Jedi.
No, and I think that's what frustrated me the first time, because I was like, dude, like that's exactly why I said like you're 100 years too early, because it's like I feel like towards the we're still technically in the High Republic, and like at least in the books they're like we don't intentionally kill people. We don't.
No, but I mean, I'm not the biggest High Republic person, but even in the books, like there's Jedi that struggle, with a lot of this stuff.
Elzar, strike.
Elzar struggles, but like there's other characters. Like I think Stellan like has his own struggles, in the first 3 books. But I think it's important to have this character like Yord, because you can kind of take Yord as a character and move him in a couple different directions. He can continue on his path of like I think Connie, you're right. Like she reaches for a pip droid and he's like, whoop, hand on the lightsaber. Like, I'm ready to do what I have to do. And Pat's right. He's very quick to arrest like someone he knows, or as a friend. And we could have a redemption arc out of Yord. We could have a story where he goes down the path that leads to the Jedi becoming what they are in the prequels, or we could have him where he falls to the dark side. Maybe he becomes the new apprentice. I think a character like him opens up so many doors. And I think we have these other characters like Soul. Like Soul is very, very he's so good. And we have a little bit of mystery with all of these characters, especially these Jedi Masters that May is going after. Like we're at the point where like Indara is like gone, and then the guy who took the oath, the Bashar,
Torben, yes.
Where it's like that. Oh my god, we haven't gotten there yet, but we'll get there.
Torben, Tommen, wow, real original with his character names.
Anyways, like I think we have these characters that are very established with who they are, and we kind of have a direction that they're probably going to go. There's a little bit of we have a little bit of mystery with Soul of like,
yes,
Soul, you need to come clean about some shit right now. But like, I love Yord as this super serious character that is like, he's a tryhard, and it's just like, where are you going to take this character? Like for me, like May and Osha, like very set in who they're going to be. They can change. One could go dark, one could go light. Maybe we have a convergence where they switch places basically. I think Jackie is pretty straightforward. And Soul's pretty straightforward. I think Yord has the biggest potential for the most possible outcomes for his character, and I'm more excited to see what happens with his character. He's not my favorite character in this show. Soul's my favorite so far.
Yes.
Like Soul is so good.
Yes.
Soul is up there, but once Kelnaka gets into action, like that's number 1 for me. Soul is my
Soul is not
my Pookie. Kelnaka with giving the hey, get off my fucking lawn roar. I found that so fun. And we'll talk about that in a little bit after we're done talking about the first episode.
But going back to Soul, like I am really excited to see, because like obviously with the mystery of how May destroyed her house, it's like it's clearly they're setting up that the Jedi are somewhat in the wrong and they did something, because when Jackie was like pressing Soul about, hey, what happened, he kept kind of dancing around how she died. She's like, she died, I saw her die, and you're like this is kind of interesting.
So and here's what I'm going to predict. You can write it down, take it to the bank, and win $100. The mother obviously is their real mother. I think she has something to do with burning down the village. I think she has a hand in it. What if there's triplets?
No,
No.
I don't think there'll be triplets. I think.
Did you guys happen to see that one trailer that had that really exposing like an actual spoiler in it?
No.
I did not.
Okay, we'll just keep it at that then. Who knows?
I don't think there'll be triplets. I think they're going to stick with twins. I think that overcomplicates it and kind of goofifies it.
Oh my God, the cops are after you, Chase.
Good.
Cops are out in downtown Philly today.
Yeah. But no, like I think the way that the first episode kind of got set up, they set up the show and I think they set the expectations for the show. Which was really cool. Because I think something like Andor, and I heard this complaint a lot with Andor, is that Andor took so long to get going. That a lot of people watch like the first 2 or 3 episodes and they're like, not a whole lot's happening. I think I'm gonna wait, to see it later. And I think most people who followed through with Andor were really impressed with that show. I think most normal people like enjoyed that show. Some people are like, it just was a slower paced thing for me, and I don't like slow paced stuff. Totally fine. I think Acolyte, kind of going back, like I think Disney has learned a lot of lessons at this point. You can kind of even take this back to 20th Century Fox. Like they were learning lessons when they were making stuff. Like look at the Clone Wars. Like they were figuring stuff out with the Clone Wars as that show was going on. And I think that this show setting itself up the way it did, and having a really strong main cast of characters that are all very different types of people and interact very strongly with each other, makes it really exciting. Not just for this show, but for everything moving forward.
It seems like it's the good thing about the show so far is that it's contained. We know the characters and we've been to a couple places, but it's almost like the setting doesn't really matter. It's the characters and their journey in that setting that matters. Like I couldn't tell you what planets we've been on, but I can tell you how I feel watching people go into the Jedi Temple and how the characters are acting and what's going to happen. But I think the big positive of that is that it's like a character driven story that we're seeing. And I'm super excited to see it play out.
Yeah, I think watching and I think it's important that these like 2 or 3 episode starts to these Disney Plus shows is really helpful, because I think if you go back to like the 2000s and the 90s where like you would have hour-and-a-half premieres for shows to kind of like set the stage for what you're going to be seeing in the next coming weeks, and I think that's really helpful. And you can break it up with these little, hey, we're going to show you 2 or 3 episodes on the first day. So you kind of aren't like watching 45 minutes and getting introduced to people for 45 minutes. And then you don't know what's going to happen next week. So I think that's really good. And I think what they did with kind of establishing that, hey, there's 2 of them in the first episode.
They did it really well.
Yeah.
I was a little concerned when they put it on the poster. I was like, damn, they gave that away on a poster. It's kind of a big reveal. And then it happens in the first minutes. I was like, oh, guess it wasn't that much of a twist.
Right.
They just tell you right away.
And the other thing, I will say the pacing, not the pacing. The first time I watched the first episode, I was like, okay, it was pretty good. Like the action was really good. But like the second episode, like, whoa.
The second
episode, it took it up a whole nother octave.
Mm-hmm. I think the first episode was a good introduction. I think that's what it is an introduction to the Acolyte. Shout out to Amanda for wearing 2 different dresses. Incredible.
That is hilarious. That is great. That is great. I
do agree with you, Luke, on the second episode, because I think that really the show got to flex its muscles a little bit. I think like we got a little bit of the combat early on in that first scene, but the fight between Soul and May in the second episode.
Oh my god,
so good. And it was like because these are new characters, you're just like, and we saw Carrie Ann Moss die
right
in the first scene. It's like at this point, I'm like, who gets killed? Like who is going to get a knife in their throat? Like now.
Especially because they established like May's hit list. You're just like, oh, you know, Soul's on the list, so you're just like, oh shit.
Yeah, is she gonna do it? And I love her little dealer, the guy who was in The Good Place, who played Jason Mendoza.
Yeah,
it's like Kimir. How do you pronounce his name?
Kimir?
I don't know.
Kimir. That's what it is.
He's so good. Like he was incredible in The Good Place. He's hilarious in that, and he's kind of playing a very similar character, just less stupid in The Acolyte. But he's just like he is a very good breath of fresh air, and I think he's doing comic relief really well. I do think there's like this 2010s, 2020s style of humor that like I'll just call it Marvel humor. The like, oh, he's standing right behind me, isn't he? Like that has definitely shown up in Star Wars at this point. I think we first saw it in The Force Awakens, like with him, like, you got a boyfriend? Like it is this like millennial Gen Z type of humor that kind of gets into media, but like the humor that they've put in with his character, I think works really well. He's clearly playing dumb. And I love that they're like leading on to like he's not stupid,
and you can see him flip that switch too in that scene where
when he's being interrogated,
where and he says to Osha, he's like, you look just like her, and that line.
Well, the thing that blew my mind more was also the Osha interrogation was crazy, but the one when May threw him up against the wall and he like dodged the first attack. Even May was like, "What the hell? Like, how did you dodge that?" Like she's kind of like, "You're hiding something. Like, who are you?"
I think my one thing, I truly believe that there is a reason why some people saw like the screeners, the people that got the screeners got 4 episodes. There's a reason for that. I have no doubt about it, but I really think that, and this is my hot opinion on here. I think that if people have seen 4 episodes, everybody else should be given the chance to see 4 episodes, because those folks that have seen the 4 episodes are like, yeah, it's so great. But like when there is that going back to kind of like that negativity, it's like, well, maybe then you play the game of, well, maybe it should have all been released at the same time, which I absolutely hate. And we talked about it last night. Like Netflix is the reason why things are.
I agree with Brooke. Yeah. They always give you half the show. Bad Batch had half the show. That's just how screeners just generally. There's no like they don't intentionally go, we're going to give you this amount of episodes because there's something in it. They usually 4 episodes. If there's an 8 episode season, 4 episodes kind of the standard. If it's 12, it's 6. They always give you 50% of the show.
No, I get that, but like, there's also a play of, hey, there's a reason why we only give them 4.
I don't think that's it, because I think if you need 3 hours to establish a storyline in a show, that's terrible pacing on a show. And I think the first 2 episodes got the hooks in. I think it's just like, okay, so there's this, dark side user doesn't have a lightsaber. She's trying to kill Jedi. She has a twin who was a Jedi. And she's been blamed, and the Jedi now understand that there are twins. They thought that one of them was dead. She's clearly not. Now she's killing them. And now it's a hunt for this person. And now like it's just one of those things of like, it's now like, not only is there a hunt for this person, you're starting to doubt the Jedi of like, with Master Torben, like willingly taking that poison on his own, which we could talk about just in general, like something else is going on. That's 2 episodes. And you're like, I need to know what's going on with Soul. I need to know what's going on with Kelnaka. I don't think we need 4 episodes all at once.
I feel so bad. I think I'm gonna die next week. Oh, I don't have warms and fuzzies about my boy Kalnaka making it
I think
out.
he's gonna be a bad person.
No, he's gonna die. He's
Maybe.
gonna die. All
but that's the
4
thing
of them
that
are gonna die, and it's
you
so
can
sad.
there's stakes, which is what makes it even better. There's stakes that hey, this person could die.
And that's what we were talking about that last stream. Like that's one of my favorite things about the High Republic is you don't know when someone's gonna drop. Like there's potential all these Jedi could just go any second.
Yeah, and it does build stakes because a lot of the content that we have been given, we already have an established story. We already know where those characters go. So it's really been since the Rise of Skywalker, since we've had a story where it's been, at least in live action, to where it's been, oh, we don't know what this story is. We don't know how it ends. We don't know where these characters go. And I think I
think every Star Wars show has given us a character where we just don't know the fate of.
Yeah, but I mean, like like the main character, like Obi-Wan and or we know where these characters.
But you have these main characters. Like, yes, we know when Obi-Wan dies. We know when Cassian dies, but like we didn't know when Kino was gonna die. You know, we didn't know when what's her face? The girl that was helping Obi-Wan, the Imperial defector.
And
these shows have given us stakes, but it's like
Reva,
Reva's another one. Like she could die at any point. It's just like I think that these shows can have stakes with establishing characters where we know how it ends for them. I think the bad, it's animated, but the Bad Batch was another one that's just like, I mean, I don't think anyone was expecting the happy ending that we got, which was great.
Oh no, that is wild.
But no, I mean, you're not wrong. Like the stakes of these characters in the High Republic, with the exception of Vernestra Rowe, who is like, let's be real, she is a book character. She is not a character that I would say 98% of Star Wars fans are gonna know of. So, and we also don't know what her fate is.
Yeah, I was just going to say that, and that also makes it interesting because I'm. This is just gonna be me being me. I'm not gonna lie. Seeing her, if she ends up demising in the show, live action is probably the best way to do it. I know she was started as a book character, but like, you bring in a book character and you're able to give them the space of live action, and then boom. I think that's like the biggest honor to that character. And Harris and I have had that conversation.
We've had like many discussions about the animation, live action, books to live action, just adaptations in general. But like my thing is like, I don't think they're going to kill Vanessa in the show. I think she's going to be around for like multiple seasons. But like if they do, you could always give her books to be like, because there's still 100 years between phase 3 to here. We still need to figure out how Vanessa gets from the bright-eyed teenager that is willing to defend anything and like fight for what is right to let's figure out how we can do this through the Republic. We need to figure out how she gets from point A to point B.
Yeah, because she is very. I don't think it's ever stated that she is a council member, but I would have to assume that she is. Whether she's a grandmaster or she's she
has a position of authority.
Absolutely
within the order. And like I've not read the Vanessa Rowe books. I know she's 16 and like the books that we kind of see her in, and
of Courage.
And she's a wildly different person in those books than she is in the show.
Absolutely.
Like she's changed. So, but like, I think, like the stakes are interesting, but also like, we're also at the point when, and I think is so interesting about the show with Master Torben is it's just like him taking the poison, him and I was telling Haley, I was like, the scene of May trying to like hit him and stab him, like that must have been the most fun scene to film. I was like, you don't move, you don't say anything, you pretend you cannot hit him. like that must have been a blast. I have to imagine that like he was just laughing the whole time, and they just had to keep doing different
The
things.
crazy thing is Amanda Sindler probably had to, because she does flips and stuff. She had to get on wire works too. So it's like you're trying to like hold, like the person that's doing all the wires is like trying to hold the like momentum of her kick, so it's like timed just right. Because like how wires work, there's like people holding on to it, so you have to like make sure the tension is just right.
Yeah, and I think what's so interesting, and I know people have talked about like, oh, this is the High Republic, and this is how Jedi were, but I think what we're seeing and not reading or seeing in comic books is like that scene where she's like trying to stop and she can't do it, and there's nothing there. I think that's such a powerful demonstration. Like just a man sitting cross-legged, hovering in the air, and he cannot be touched. Like that is the power of a Jedi. It is not how fast he can spin his lightsaber. It's not how far he can push someone or how heavy of an object he can like lift. It's like he cannot be touched and he cannot be disturbed. And that's
to me,
to
me, that's a direct parallel to like Luke in The Last Jedi. It's him floating above a rock millions of miles away, being a Jedi and being basically impenetrable. You cannot touch him.
Yeah. And that speaking of Last Jedi Luke, I wish Nick was in here because we were having this conversation after the reaction. Is I love how the Yoda lineage is kind of like the last line of the High Republic Jedi, because we were talking like the whole like descent of like, well, Soul feels like very much like Yoda's teaching in Empire. We're like, well, that kind of makes sense because of Yoda's philosophy is how you can kind of like, because like Yoda's very High Republic-y, Dooku's very High Republic-y, Luke is very High Republic when we get to him in The Last Jedi. It's like you can kind of see the lineage, even to Qui-Gon, you can see the lineage just go down and down and down. It's like these are the last ambassadors. I mean, obviously it ends with Rey. It's like these are the ambassadors of that era. They hold that philosophy of the High Republic.
Yeah. I think it is really cool that we are seeing these things in live action. I think it's cool. I think the fight in the very beginning of episode 1 with Indara, the fight with Sol and May, and then the attempted fight with Master Torben is just like, we've had 2 lightsabers ignited. I think in this whole 3. We had Indara taking out the daggers.
Yeah.
We have Yord,
but
he's also using it as a light. Like
but it also goes back to what I was saying earlier, because Yord went in there immediately like, let's go get her, like guns blazing, and Soul is having to be like, calm down.
Yeah,
because he's having to talk her off the cliff.
We do see we can only assume the Sith igniting his red blade.
4 technically. 4.
4?
Oh yeah, because Yord activates it as well, because Yord jumps in the middle of the fight and then and then Soul once again is like, stop.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, it is this thing of like, we're seeing how powerful Jedi are without their lightsabers. And I think that's really cool. I think that's something that like I've wanted to see more of. And we've definitely gotten it in every aspect of Star Wars, like, you know, Jedi's doing these amazing feats with other lightsabers. But like, I think Master Torben's was like my favorite example of like, he's just hovering in air. He's meditating and you can't touch him.
Yep.
But speaking of Master Torben, him taking that poison,
that opens up the floodgates.
Yeah. Like, he's like, yeah, because she knows something he knows and no one else knows, and he's not willing to go down for that. He would rather die than have what happened on their planet get out.
Yeah, that scene was crazy. It also how Kamir kind of knew it. That also kind of gives that a little bit that angle to there's more to Kamir, because he's like, yeah, just give him poison. Like, how the hell do you know that? Like, why do you know the information? Like, why would you know that absolution is the thing he needs?
Yeah,
and then the layers to, if you're a High Republic fan, with the bearish bow angle of it all, and you're like, why would he take the bearish bow? Probably links to something that happened with May that
very
just
much
broke his connection with the Force.
Yeah.
Well, it's not even his connection to the Force. It's just more like, I screwed up. and I feel so bad that I cannot be a Jedi. That's literally the layman terms of how you want to describe that.
And the fact that it's not really giving away stuff because it was not in the spoilery trailers, but like the earlier trailers. The fact that he was a child during the maze burning, that goes miles. That he did something wrong as a teenager and it scarred him for life, to the point where he would kill himself rather than be a Jedi.
Okay, hold on. Let's get to this comment. Kylo and Knights of Ren were also followers who were servants of a faction of Sith, but not Sith. I think Acolytes are also a faction of Sith, but not Sith. I go ahead.
I think the understanding, and I'm not saying you're right or wrong. I believe the understanding is it goes Sith Master, Sith Apprentice, Sith Acolyte is kind of the hierarchy.
It's just basically
they're not
the relationship
Sith yet. Like Acolyte is almost equivalent to Padawan. Like a Padawan's technically not a Jedi; they are training to be a Jedi.
It's like Savage. It's like Savage or Asajj Ventress.
Yeah,
like
I mean they're going to elaborate on it, obviously.
Yeah.
The one thing that I was thinking about with Kamir is, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I think it could be interesting, is if we're using that tier list, like Acolyte, Apprentice, Master, what if it's the other way around that everyone is thinking? What if Kamir is the Master?
Ooh.
And the toothed mask lightsaber guy is the Apprentice. And Kamir's just pulling the strings and he's watching May, and it's like, you're using weapons, I'm gonna give you the weapons, I'm gonna make you fail.
It's also because I always wonder this too. It's like, obviously the whole point of the Acolyte, I've talked about this in multiple servers because people are confused with the whole aspect of like the Acolyte has to kill a Jedi without a weapon. It's like, how can you back that up? How would you know that she didn't just stab him with steel back? Yeah, come on, the weapon. Like, there's no proof to it. It would make sense that the Master's watching in the shadows and observing and being like, yep, you did your job. Like, you did it by the books. Here you go.
Yeah.
There's a crystal
I feel like there's some sort of deeper, like, dark side understanding to killing without a lightsaber. It's killing without a weapon. Like, it unlocks something within you to become. It's
a showing of strength, because Palpatine makes Vader do that in the 2017 comics. In the first couple issues, he makes him do the same thing.
So for those that are anime nerds, Connor, I think you're an anime nerd, right? Correct? Yeah. It's like unlocking. It's like an Uchiha unlocking their Mangekyo Sharingan.
Right. Yeah.
Like that's literally like, you have to hit a certain amount, like not a certain amount of like points, but like you have to have something traumatic kind of happen to you to awaken it.
Yeah, it's the proof of like, oh, you're worthy of getting into the rule of two. Kill them without any weapon, and then you complete your crystal. It's like a little bit of like, it's them showing their power and them flexing their muscles.
Yeah.
Oh, combining two franchises together. That's an interesting. I think
that's very possible.
I think that is very.
Also,
very
it would be a really cool way to connect it back to the prequels with Maul. If like it's like these connect, because I always like the idea that Chase. We were talking about this in the predictions. It's like, I want to see this go beyond Palpatine. Like, these pieces have been in play for generations. Palpatine was the one that just put it all together. So I would love the idea that the witches of Dathomir have been involved with this for thousands of years.
Yeah.
Watching this show, and I'm not going to say it clicked for me, because anything is possible. I think going back to the predictions we made, with Palpatine, Plagueis, and what's going to happen, how is it going to connect? Watching this show, I could see this show, even if it runs for 5 seasons, never connecting. Like, it is its own isolated story, and I think that could
very much be.
I think either way, I think it's a win-win situation of like, you can have that Andor payoff of like, Cassian was building the machine that was going to kill him. Like, that's a great payoff that connects into the Skywalker saga, even though that story feels very disconnected to the Skywalker saga. Whereas the Acolyte could 100% end on its own terms, and it's just like, this was just a story from 100 years ago. Like, who cares about Luke? Who cares about Anakin? Who cares about, it's like, this is just a story. But we could also get that payoff of like, you know, the guy in the mask when he comes, you know, let's say he doesn't take the mask off for 4 seasons, whatever it is, and then you realize it was this person, and it's like, wow, that connected crazy. Like, that's Darth Plagueis, you know, whatever it may be, right?
Oh, dude, Plagueis shows up, I'm losing my freaking
But like, I think
But it
the
doesn't
show
matter.
has,
Yeah.
the show has
Yeah.
within 2 episodes, the show has stood its ground so firmly that like it doesn't need to. Like it will be great either way, you know, depending on how they do it, you know. But like, this is a show that like I think has established itself within an hour and 15 minutes of airtime that it doesn't need to connect, and it will be fine if it doesn't connect.
I think answering this question, I think because everything with the Bearish Vow is like, you've done something absolutely insane, like horribly wrong,
or like light spoiler. I mean, spoilers aren't there for the book's been out 3 years. Like, it comes down to the person's guilt. Like, it could be something crazy like this, or it could be something small. Like, I need to just kind of go into retreatal mode, and I'm going to be gone for like a couple years. Let me just get my mind right. It's just like a reconnection thing.
Yeah, 10 years is a long time to be in the Bears. Like, it's to have that guilt, and I think Pat actually mentioned it earlier. The line he said, "I was waiting for you."
Yeah.
Yeah.
That has to be just waiting for it to happen.
Yep. Has to be on his mind for 10 years. I'm sure he already made a decision. If I'm ever found, it's over for me. Like, it's that line, that act just opens up a Pandora's box of possibilities.
Yeah.
I think what Joseph was kind of like saying, you know, it's like, what did he do to lead him to want to kill himself? I don't think this is going to be a story arc. I think this is going to be the crux of the season. Is what did those 4 Jedi do? What did those 4 Jedi do or not do? And I think having Vernestra there is this, like, you know, like, you need to, like, I firmly believe that they are going to try and separate the High Republic Jedi from the prequel Jedi in this show. And I think they've done a very good job of doing that so far, but I think they're going to have that big, you know, dividing line in the sand. And I think it's going to be one of those things of like, maybe it's not going to be Yord. Maybe it will be Sol and Kalnaka that are like the closest to the prequel Jedi. And it's like having what they did or did not do 10 years ago. Are they going to have to answer for that? I assume they will answer for that. 2 of them have.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be a big point of the show of like, hey, like, what happened there was not okay.
And it's gonna trickle down to how people perceive the Jedi, like the Jedi themselves, how the Jedi perceive themselves as an institution.
Yeah. I mean, they say they have enemies, like you know, Vernestra tells Vernestra, I believe, is like, our enemies cannot know about this. Yeah.
Well, Sol's like our political enemies. She says that they could be used against them, and it's absolutely crazy.
Also, the fact that, going back to that again, I get like, we're just jumping around on the entire episode. It's like when Indira and May are fighting, when Indira pulls down the mask, her first words is "you." It's like this recognition of knowledge of like, everyone's been kind of waiting for like the cat to reveal itself. It's like they've been hiding this for like 10 years, and also the fact that both Osha and May did not know that each other lived. It's like both sides are deceiving both of them to like. Obviously, Sol thought May was dead. Like, he saw her die, but like, May is also deceived being Osha's dead. So it's like, what is the Sith telling May to like make her go this far and like go down the path of the dark side and like be consumed by revenge?
Yeah. I think May not knowing Osha alive again, there's so many doors that we can go through with this show, and I think that makes that so exciting because I feel like it's just not going to be very predictable.
Real quick, I'm gonna head out. My hiccups are so bad right now. It's being so distracting. Connor, thank you for coming on, but I'm gonna head out. I will
Luke,
still show up in the chat.
We're sitting here at an hour. I'd say we've gotten through both episodes, pretty much. Luke, let me ask you your closing thoughts. Okay.
Yeah, give me a sec. Go ahead.
Okay. But I won't start with Luke. Harith,
Yes.
some closing opinions on the Acolyte. I guess I'll ask. Now that you know what you know about the first 2 episodes, who do you want to make it out of this series alive more than anyone?
Like only with the context of the first 2 episodes, I want Soul to make it out because like I feel like Soul is to me is like when I think about the High Republic Jedi, like to people that don't know about those books, I point at Soul and be like, this is the representation of the Jedi in this era. So it's like I want him to make it out, even though most likely there's going to be a piece of information that's revealed about him, and I'm going to go, you fucked up, my guy. I don't know if I want you to live, but as of right now, it's Soul.
Okay, Connor.
I would back off. I would agree with Harith saying Soul, but I also am so intrigued on how Yord is going to react to everything that's about to be revealed to the Jedi. For me, he's hanging in the balance, and he could go, like we talked about earlier, he could go a million different ways. He could fall to the dark side. He could, become a Jedi like Soul and be more open to, or different interpretations of Jedi code, the Force, or I could even see him like leaving the Jedi and just kind of, even being like a way seeker for those who are familiar with that term in the High Republic, like kind of taking a step back and reassessing his views of the Jedi Order, for someone who's such a stickler right now.
Yeah.
Well, I think those are great answers. You're both wrong. Pip is the right answer.
You and your droids.
No, I do want Soul to make it out, but the one person I want May to make it out of this. I want, whether she gets a redemption arc or not. I want to see her, even if she stays evil, and she continues on the evilness, and that leads to something in the Skywalker saga. Cool, whatever. I want her to make it out of the show. Good or bad, I want to see her make it out. And if we have Luke back, if not, I guess I'll just throw it out. Like, how do we feel? Are we excited? Lucas,
Mr. Eggman.
Yeah.
Luke Eggwalker.
What?
Now that you've seen the first 2 episodes, the question I have for you,
twice
above all else, who do you want to see not die?
Kelnaka. That's the easiest question for me.
Kelnaka?
I don't want to see Kelnaka die. I already had to almost go through one Burry death. I don't really care to go through another one.
Well, Burry and Genji are fine. I think it's time we had a
Burry.
dead.
No.
It's time to kill the Wookiees.
Yeah, we need a dead Wookiee
We
Jedi.
kill Kanaka and bring in Burry. Like we can get Burry in here.
If so, they would have sent Keanu Mundi to deal with the droid attack on the Wookiees since he was so freaking concerned.
They've got a million Jedi on Kashyyyk, as we see. You need to kill them all.
Apparently we do. That's crazy. No, dude.
Kelnaka. So we want Soul, Kelnaka, Yord, and May, and obviously Pip. More above
Pip.
all else, Pip better make it out of this in one piece. But overall thoughts of the show,
I
love it. Think it's fine.
I think I've really enjoyed it. It's not it has the potential to be my favorite Star Wars show, and that's saying a lot because I love
I think
love
every Star
Kenobi.
Wars show has the potential to be my favorite Star Wars show.
Yeah, that's fair.
Harith,
Yes,
like it, love it.
I would
It's
say
fine. In love with it. Can't get enough of it.
I would say love it so
You
far.
can't live without it.
I would say I'm loving it so far. I would say it has right now the potential to be like shoot up as my number one live action show. Again, I really want to see how these next 6 episodes go and how the murder mystery of it all, how the Jedi play into this, like with Soul and like all that, and then how do the Sith play into this, like what's really going on, who is really the Sith apprentice. So it's like it has the really good angle of being like this dark murder mystery.
All right. I'm going to say I really like it. I don't love it just yet. I think this show has, I think what both of you have kind of said is the show has so much potential that the next 6 weeks are going to be insane. I feel like, you know, anything's possible. The show could fall off and it could get super, super boring. But
Char, welcome to the wrap.
Charlie, welcome to the wrap up. Final thoughts. How do you feel about the Acolyte?
Great.
See you later, Charlie.
Yeah, get out of here.
Connor. Wrap it up.
Listen, I don't know how to follow.
thoughts.
I can't follow that up, but no, I would agree with you, Chase. I had really high expectations going into the show. Not high expectations, but I was really looking forward to the show since it was announced. And I'd say it has met my expectations and exceeded a little bit with the possibility, all the different possibilities and end games of this show of the possibilities that we have. So yeah, I'm really enjoying it. And like you said, the next 6 weeks are going to be insane, and I will not be able to stop thinking about this show.
I don't think the show will disappoint. Like I said, I've said it multiple times. I think Disney very much is learning. And this, I think this is a good example of what I think Andor was a good example of what they've learned, but I'm not going to say that Andor was easy to make, but I think a story about the rebellion and someone getting into the rebellion and going into like the Empire and stuff like that's like a pretty easy win for a lot of Star Wars fans.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people get really stingy on lightsaber stuff and Force stuff and, oh, does this break the Force? So I think they've done a really good job with what they've done now. And I anything's possible, like I said, but I don't see them dropping the ball on this one. I think we're all going to be pleasantly surprised come 6 weeks from now with everything we've seen. But Char, if you want to shoot out any final thoughts about Acolyte, we are wrapping up.
What's up, 33 viewers? But here's the thing. I don't know if you guys touched base on Torben's death.
We did quite extensively.
Yeah. I was so shocked by how many people just didn't get the purpose of him offing himself. Like,
really? I thought that was very
no one understood. That was like, oh, he just died. He just died like that. Like, no,
because he
what happened on Brundock, he would much rather have that die with him than have it be revealed. There's something bad happening. There's something bad that happened there.
Yeah,
it's got to go to deaf ears. But I just want to shout out the Yord Horde. The Yord Horde is always prosperous.
Damn.
I know a lot of people were treading lightly with Yord.
Yord Horde, no shirts allowed.
Yeah, I mean,
Yord Horde, please steam everything.
No shirts but steamers.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
No, it's hilarious because a lot of the people were talking about how they were right on par with the character because they were mentioning how Yord is very proper. He wants to have he always wants to appear to be perfect every single time you see him. And even Charlie Barnett in an interview was saying that he's like, he wants to always present himself in the best way possible. He wants to, it's not so much putting up a facade, but like the idea that he is like perfect. He's everything about him is
he's always
awesome.
Performing and he's always presenting. I think I do think that Yord is a good character. I think he has only the best intentions with everything he does. I think he's going about it in so many ways. But what we kind of were talking about earlier was like he has the most possibilities of any character in this show right now.
Yeah, him and Jackie.
Yeah, very excited to see what they do with every character, but especially Yord.
Yeah.
But that being said, we're sitting at about a minute 15, and I want to thank the 31 people.
A minute 15.
A minute 15.
Yeah. So I was
fast
early.
podcast. But yeah, thank you to the 32 people now that are watching. Thanks for everyone in the chat. Brooke, Pat, Joseph Ricci for hanging out in the chat, and everyone else that was here. Very much appreciated. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell icon down below so you get notified when the pod wants to do anything. Char, where can we find you on social media?
Good people, you can find me on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram at CharCharJ, as spelled right here. And you can find me here at the Pod Ones podcast every single Friday for our Acolyte discussion. And you can check me out on our Acolyte reactions. That'll be coming out at the end of every week. So, yeah, there you go.
Love Mr. That. Harith Edits Productions, where can we find you on the
Mr. Edits Productions? You could find me editing stuff over here at the Pod Ones podcast. I'm kidding. You can find me at Harith Productions on TikTok and Instagram, Harith_edits on Twitter. And of course, just like Char said, you can find me here every Friday for our Acolyte discussion. And starting 2 weeks from now, main podcast for House of the Dragons, baby.
Ooh.
Absolutely.
And then whenever this guy's spewing up for Rings of Power season 2.
I was gonna do Luke's outro. I was gonna do Luke's outro, but I feel now he's back. You can follow Luke on TikTok at Hannah Owo.
Every single Friday for the last
2 minutes or 2 hours. I'm here.
Yeah, anyway, this guy can't take 2 days off out of the week.
Luke, where can we find you on the internet?
You can follow me on the interwebs at the Pod Ones on all social medias and at Jedi Master Eggs on all social medias. That's my second account where it's just me and not all four of us. Connor, thanks again for coming on. Sorry it wasn't a very long episode, but you know. Yeah, we'll have you on again for a little bit longer conversation. Not only just Acolyte, but we gotta have you on to talk about other stuff as well. So we appreciate you coming on. But that
it was a pleasure talking to you.
Connor, where can we find you on the internet? We've gone through our social medias. Connor, where can we find you? What do you do?
So I am primarily on TikTok at Jedi.Connor. And I am also with my actually in the comments there, Total Bomb Pro. I have the Starlight podcast that I release on YouTube. It's pre-recorded. It's on Spotify as well. And we're starting to talk about the Acolyte every week. So check it out. It's in the bio of my TikTok. You can click on it and go to the different podcast episodes. So that's where you'll find me.
Absolutely, and good job, Harith. For those that are thanks for the 35 watchers. Most of them are going to be on Twitter. If you guys like our content on Twitter, head over to YouTube, go subscribe to us, like our content, comment. I made a promise I will get the Acolyte reaction done. I'm almost finished. Char, if you made it tougher than it needed to be.
What do you mean?
Okay. Yeah, we'll talk about it in a little bit. But we want to grow. We want to grow more. We want to have more interesting conversations. And join our Discord. It's in our link. We hang out in it a lot. We have meaningful conversation about Star Wars and any other fandom. But that's gonna be it for this episode. For Light and for Life, we're all the Republic, and may the Force be with you
always.
See you guys.
Oh my God, you two.